Okay, today I've got with me Marianna Barba. Hey Marianna, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, look, Marianna's the owner and founder of a company called Growth Training Group, which specialises in the business of providing businesses and their owners with information about the importance of first aid and how to make sure their staff are up to speed. But I also know she extends that also to families as well. So Marianna, to get this moving, what made you decide to get into this business?
Oh, you know what? I think I fell into it a little bit. So I was working on another project in my Hyper Baby business because I run the Hyper Baby. I'm the franchisor for Hyper Baby, and a lot of my clients came to me and said, "We've got all this knowledge around nursery equipment and child safety. Whether I would consider doing some training around first aid," and that's how we sort of stumbled into this area. And I think I got a really, I saw that there's a real need to do it right. I went and had a look at some of my competitors, and if we're going to do first aid in Australia, we need to do it right. It needs to be, and I keep talking about it, it needs to be more than a piece of paper. So that's really where it came from, like just seeing what's out there and making sure that we are teaching people first aid.
Yeah, it's an interesting area, isn't it? Because it's one of those areas that I suppose a lot of businesses, it's the sort of thing that if we haven't had a problem, we don't want to really think about it.
Correct, absolutely, absolutely. And usually I get caught in after something's happened. So I actually want to turn it around and look at it from an employer's perspective and say, I as an employer, what do I want from this? Yes, I want to tick a box, that's fine. But what do I want from this? And I want my staff to be safe. I want my staff to know that I care about them and that this is important.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing to be associated with businesses that want to keep their employees safe as opposed to those businesses that really don't care.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's one really important thing that you've learned along the way so far in your journey?
In terms of first aid or just in business?
Just something that comes to mind for you that you said this is one thing. If I was to share it with the audience out there of business owners or people looking at getting into business, what's something that you reckon just stands out?
You know what? It's staff. Okay, so and it's about I heard a comment the other day saying I've got to stop hiring the wrong people. It's actually, there's nothing wrong with the people. It's how we onboard people and giving our staff the right tools for them to be successful. No one ever wants to come into a job and not be successful. So I think what I am learning through this process is if we start our staff with the right tools and the right information, that they want to be successful. And as a business owner, I want staff that I don't want to replace every 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? That's just, that hurts a business more. I want staff that will retire with me, right? So getting the staff thing right starts from the beginning.
Actually, it's interesting you say that. I had a fellow business colleague from a few years ago who was doing research in that area, and the lack of the separation, if you like, from the employee's perspective of what he was going into from day one, from day after 1 year, was an incredibly fast drop-off. Most businesses actually don't get that onboarding process done particularly well. Or they stop doing it after the first week or two and they think, oh, it's all been done now. So that there's a disengagement once the employee realises that he's just another cog in the wheel, and then obviously all the issues that are associated with disengagement come to the fore.
Yeah, absolutely. No one wants to fail. Like we're born to want to succeed, and I think it's hard because you've got to be in a position to have really hard conversations with your staff, and trying to balance that relationship's a critical point. So getting the onboarding right is really important.
Yep. Look, I suppose this is a general question in one sense because it covers a lot of territory, but and I'm going to put it in full, but is there one book, one author, one training program, one network group that you would strongly recommend someone who is looking to get into business be associated with?
Yeah, look, I've been on, I'm part of your network, which is the BNI network, and this is not a plug necessarily about BNI. I think it's about businesses need networks around them to support them. I've really enjoyed my journey at BNI because I've actually learned, I've been in business for 15, 20 years, but what I've learned over the last 12 months that I've been with BNI has been absolutely amazing. And it's in a I come in every week, I've got KPIs, but more importantly, I'm learning about insurance and, customer journey, CRMs, things I thought I knew about, but I actually didn't. And just that ongoing connection with people. So anyone starting a business needs to get into a network, whether it's BNI or something else, that's fine. But a network that actually is more than drinks and coffee. Like you have to get something out of it. You have to give, but you also need to learn from it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think the thing that behind that question is really the stimulus that we all need,
Absolutely.
whether it's the network group or the author or the book or the training program, something that generates in our brain, something that says, you know what, there's more to learn here.
Oh, and you know what it is, Michael, though? There's when you go to a good networking group, is for that 1 hour or 2 hours, it's not actually about you and your business, right? So it actually, as a business owner, makes you switch off your business, the phone ringing, who's answering the phone, because we get so caught up in that, and you're just there and you're being present. So you're not texting on your phone, you're not worrying if someone's answering, none of that, right? And I think as business owners, we actually need to come out of our business to actually grow our business, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, no. Okay, so this is a question for me because I've got 2 10-year-old boys. So I'm always seeking for some free tips while I've got people on this program. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you had one piece of advice that you would give your 10-year-old self, what would it be?
I don't know. What would I say? You can do whatever you want. And 10-year-olds, it's all about, friendships and, but you know what? You can do whatever you like. As a 10-year-old, I didn't think I would be owning businesses. I thought as a 10-year-old, I was more interested, I was going to be a teacher, or I don't even know if I was thinking about careers, but life's really long. Do as much as you can and have no regrets. Make decisions where look at decisions and make decisions and stand by your decisions. It's okay. And it's okay to fail. That's just part of being life, You don't have to succeed. You just need to give it a go. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that, because I say that one of my boys is particularly, he doesn't like failure. The other one's quite happy to have failure and kick on and move on. The other one doesn't like it. So that's really good advice. So we have this conversation, and it's a great segue to that point for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a couple of, because I'm in finance, as you know, so I've got to stick in a couple of questions on finance.
Okay.
So have you borrowed money for your business, and if so, can you explain how you've used this money?
So have I borrowed money from my business? Yeah, I have. We borrowed some money to set up some infrastructure and invest in assets, and we needed that to grow. Small business has got to stop thinking that they can run it on the smell of an oily rag. It just doesn't make sense. I used to work for a petroleum company, and I was really lucky to have some American group owners, and they used to say, stack it high and watch it fly. And I think businesses need to do that. They need to invest they need capital behind them to run the business properly. You can't run it without working capital. You need to make sure you're paying yourself, and guess what? You're gonna need to invest in your business for inventory, for equipment. You can't do it half-assed. You know what I mean? So absolutely.
Okay, and how about in terms of properties and which is obviously the other side, apart from businesses, building a property portfolio. Have you borrowed money to buy a property, and if so, how many properties do you now own?
Okay, so here's a bit of story. So I had a goal at 30, so obviously a couple of years ago. And I wanted to own my house. I wanted to own a house in when I was 30. I actually remember going to the bank, and I think it was the original Bank of Melbourne, and I paid on my birthday the last instalment.
Wow.
Right? And I was paying interest rates. What's the interest rate today, Michael? What's the interest rate today?
I can get you less than 3 probably if you're.
I was paying 17. I was paying 17%. I was paying 17%, and I was really so. So I bought a house when I was 30, and then what I did was I actually used the capital growth that I got in that property to buy my next property, and then I sort of piggybacked each house and sort of uplifted the property every time we moved. So every time, I think I've owned all up about 6 homes, and we've done this piggyback thing. So each house, I bought a unit in Ascot Vale for $150,000, sold it for $510,000, moved to Maribyrnong. I seem to be following the Maribyrnong River for $410,000. Bought a house in Avondale Heights for $710,000, right? And used the house in. So right now I've got three properties. I've got a commercial one, which we bought on a limp. We thought, oh, that looks like fun. So we used the equity in an investment property to go buy that. And yeah, do you know what I mean? You can't, like, from my perspective, and it's probably the Italian in me, you can't go wrong with property. Regardless of what they say, you can't go wrong. So now we've got 2 properties in Ascot Vale, a factory in Keilor, and obviously where we are now in Avondale Heights. So yeah. So am I moving somewhere else? I don't know. I don't think I can. My next jump's a big jump. So I keep telling my husband that I want a house in McCracken Street in Essendon. I don't know why. It's got some beautiful homes, but I'm not sure. That's a big jump.
There are some lovely homes, but I think that's a really interesting, because you're probably, I remember looking at some statistics recently, you're probably, in terms of the Australian population, I think less than 1% has more than 4 or 5 investment properties. I think the numbers are. So you're almost there in that top 1%. So you've done well. Okay. Now, where do you live at the moment? Which suburb are you in?
Avondale Heights.
Avondale Heights. So what do you like about Avondale Heights?
It doesn't have a cafe scene. You know what it's got that no one knows? We actually bank up to the end of the Maribyrnong River. So, so like less than 200 metres away, I can walk down to the Maribyrnong, which is the bottom end of the Maribyrnong, where it becomes almost a creek. And when you walk down there, it's like you're in the middle of nowhere, so I am, no offence to anyone in Avondale Heights, like, it was the suburb I never wanted to live in, but I live in there now. But I like it because it's convenient. I can jump on freeways, so the location's fantastic. It just lacks a bit of personality.
Actually, that part of the Maribyrnong River that you mentioned, I know that really well.
Yeah.
And the reason I know it really well is my sons used to go play soccer at Brimbank, which was on the other side of the Maribyrnong.
Yeah, the other end, yeah.
Furlong Road.
Yeah.
And I used to, when they were doing their hour-and-a-half soccer training in the middle of winter, I would drive the car down, park at the top on the other side of the river, whatever the suburb is, and run down to the river and along the river.
Yeah.
Actually, I actually ran from Brimbank from the Italia Club Italia, all the way down there once and along the river and then
Do you know
back
there's
up.
kangaroos down there?
Sorry?
Do you know there's kangaroos down there?
Wow, yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised because it does have the feel of this, you're in the middle of nowhere. It's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a portion of it that really is, seriously, because you've actually got to walk down a gully, so all the city noise has disappeared and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
There's a little creek. It's just a really magical spot. So I hope no one, don't come to Avondale High for me and leave it to me, okay?
I love that. I would do the same. I think that's fantastic. Marianna, that is fantastic. It's been really lovely chatting to you today. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for sharing that little hidden gem, because it's one I know of.
It's really bad down there. Don't go. Don't go.
No, I won't tell anyone either. So no one but you and me know about this.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Thanks for that. I will press the record button now. So thanks again, and thanks for coming to this little chat.
My pleasure. That was quite fun.